Bougie Comfort Food. I'm your hostess, Mary Landry, and today we are making roast in a slow cooker. Now, this was always a favorite around my house. All my kids enjoyed eating this because it's beef and potatoes. Come on, what more could you want? So, what you need, I have about a 2.5 pound chuck roast. And I tried for a bigger roast. You can make a bigger roast, you just can't put as many vegetables in it if you're doing that, because your slow cooker is just not going to hold it. You also need a medium onion, and what you're going to do with that onion is take the stem end off the bottom, the root end. You're going to take that stalk off the top, if I can get through it. Here we go. And then you're going to peel those orange layers away. Now, I like to use a yellow onion. They're kind of medium mild in flavor, so they're not too terrible, not too onion, but you definitely need that with the beef roast. So, in addition to that, you're also going to need a pound bag of baby carrots and an 8-ounce package of sliced mushrooms. But in the beginning of this, we're not putting the mushrooms in. If you put your mushrooms in at this point, they are going to be tough and rubbery when you get to that 6 to 8 hour point where your roast is going to be done. Now, because I have a smaller roast, it's probably going to take less time. It's probably going to take about 6 hours. This is one of those, if you cook a bigger roast, you're going to have a longer cook time. About a 5 pound roast will have about an 8 hour cook time. Now remember, that last hour we're going to throw in our mushrooms. So, we're going to just roughly cut little wedges like this out of our onions. Okay? You're going to separate those when you go to put them in the crock pot. Now, if you don't have time to do all of that, it's okay. But I'll tell you, if I want dinner ready around 6 o'clock, I usually start my roast around 10 a.m. And that is about what time it is now. Ooh, my eyes are tearing. Now, if you want to try some of the hacks that they always have for onions so that your eyes don't tear up, you can supposedly hold a matchstick in your teeth. These are some of the old wives' tales. You can do it under running water, and that one does work. I know that much. And they tell you if you don't cut off one of the tips that I cut off, the root or the stem, I can't ever remember which one it is, that it won't tear up on you for that either. But we didn't do that today. I'm a tough girl. I can handle it. You can also, if you're really sensitive or you're a contact wearer, you can wear safety glasses. That keeps the onion juice from spraying up on you. But, you know, who wants to look like a mad scientist in the kitchen? Okay, maybe this girl. Anyway, so we're going to start this out. We have 4 cups of beef bouillon. I've taken 8 cubes and put it in 4 cups of water, of boiling water. So you end up with 4 cups of really stout bouillon. You also are going to need zesty Italian dressing. Now, you can buy the 16-ounce bottle. I just buy the bigger one because it's more economical. So, first step in this. Oh, and for your potatoes, you can use Idaho potatoes, your russet potatoes. You can use any kind of potato you choose. I choose to do mine with BB potatoes. Now, those are the ones, for anybody who's ever been to a crawfish bowl, those are the ones you use in a crawfish bowl. BB potatoes are about this size, normally. You can cut the larger ones down. Make sure you take the eyes out of them because that's not good eating. But if you have one, say about this size, you can take her and just cut her in half because you want them uniform in size. So as you can see, most of mine are pretty uniform in size. That one's a little big. So we're going to just slice that one in half. If you have a side that looks kind of wrinkly or funky, just cut that one off. Nobody's going to know the difference, but you know, it's just prettier, and you know that weathered side is not a big thing. But you do want to have the best looking potatoes you can have. Wash your potatoes really well so that you don't end up with them tasting like dirt. Now, how we do this. Our root vegetables are going to take longer to cook, just like our roast is. So I always put my carrots and my potatoes, and I just kind of sprinkle them around in the crock pot and cover that roast up with them. You're going to put all this liquid in on top of them, and then you dump in your potatoes. And like I said, I just kind of mix it up with my hands a little bit so that I can see some carrots in there and some of my potatoes settle in the bottom. And then we're going to sprinkle in our onion on top of that. And remember, when I cut them up, so you can see they're already starting to separate a little bit. And I kind of tuck some of them down underneath. Make sure that that onion gets into my roast. Just kind of break them up a little bit as you're putting them in there. And like I said, you're just going to kind of move it all around with your hands and get them all mixed in there, and make sure your carrots are all mixed in. So, we like a lot of vegetables in ours, so I make sure that I do my 4 pounds of potatoes, and I've got the pound of carrots, and I've got a medium onion. So we just keep it on percolating just like that. Okay, our next step, we're going to pour in. Now remember, I said I buy the big one. You can get a 16 ouncer. You want to shake it up really well before you start. And I pour in, this one's a 36 ouncer. So I'm going to pour roughly half of it in there. Now, you're probably saying, why are you putting Italian dressing in it? You can marinate this roast overnight in a Ziploc bag in that Italian dressing, and it really gets the flavor down in it. But I just pour it into my roast. The oil in there helps the roast, and so does all the vinegar. It helps break down the meat. And then you're going to pour in, as carefully as possible, your 4 cups of bouillon. And folks, it is that easy to get a roast started. Now, as you can see, the liquid's not quite over my vegetables, and I like that. So I'm going to add another 2 cups of water to mine, because my crock pot's pretty big. Now we'll see if it takes all that 2 cups. But you want to have enough liquid to cover your vegetables. Yep, see? 2 cups was perfect. All right. Now, if you choose to, you can put some more bouillon in there, or you can even use a 32-ounce carton of of beef broth, and get it started that way. But as you can see, all my vegetables are down in my water. Now, this is one of those meals you can set it and forget it. Now, what I do is I take it about midway through, and I'll flip that roast over so that all the heat isn't on one side of my roast, and it cooks a little more evenly. But we're going to put this into our crock pot, set it on low, and it's going to cook for, like I said, about 6 to 8 hours. So we'll be eating by 6 o'clock tonight, because I got it started early enough. So, we'll come back to you in a few hours, and once we are 1 hour from the ending of this, we're going to talk to you about your mushrooms. You don't want to put them in at this point, or they will turn into rubber balls. I like to use sliced mushrooms, and they just end up little hockey pucks if you leave them in there this long. So, you want to take that time, let it cook down. And if you're somebody who's going off to work and you're going to come home and all that, and you know, maybe the kids come home from school, you can even have an older child flip this roast while you're still at work. And when you come home an hour before you're going to serve it, you're going to put those mushrooms in, because they'll cook in that hour. But okay, so we've got it on. It's already percolating. And we'll be back to see you in a couple of hours and show you how we flip that roast over. All right, hang tight. We'll be back. Hey folks, welcome back. Okay, so we're at that point where we put our mushrooms in. I know I told you I was going to show you the flip, but we got a little busy around here, so I didn't get to that. But what we're going to do instead is we're going to go ahead and flip that roast now. And you can see I speared a potato to show you that they are nice and softening. It definitely needs that extra hour. And I might even, if your potatoes are too hard, go ahead and kick it up to high for that last hour. But we're going to reach in here, flip our roast over. You can see one side is more cooked than the other one, and we want that uncooked side, or that less cooked side, to be up. But you can see it's floating around in there nice. We're going to bury it back down inside our vegetables, and we are at that point where we add mushrooms. So I'm going to add in an 8-ounce package of mushrooms, and in our case, we like mushrooms quite a bit, and I have some mushrooms that we put into a casserole or some eggs or something the other day, and I have about a half a pack I'm going to throw in addition to the pack that I require, that the recipe requires. So we're going to go ahead and throw that half pack in, because we don't want to lose our mushrooms. Mushrooms are too fabulous. And we're going to go ahead and throw that 8-ounce pack of mushrooms in there. I'm going to get them all in there if you can. All right. And then what we're going to do is just kind of spread them out. They are going to float no matter what you do. So I always put them in the last hour before I serve. And like I said, my potatoes are still a little tough even after the time we've taken. So I'm going to go ahead and kick my crock pot up on high and get that running. And for that last hour, I'm kicking it up on high just to make sure my potatoes are ready. So we're going to let her go for another hour. She's going to go on high. And then I'll come back and plate it up and show you how good this looks. Ooh, I can't wait for dinner. It smells so good in here. All right, guys, we'll be back. Hold tight. Hi, folks, and welcome back. So I know I told you we'd do a flip. We didn't do that. We put the mushrooms in. Well, my old war horse decided it wasn't going to cook those potatoes to a nice softness in the 8 hours we expected, and it's been more like 10. So that being said, let's get this roast out and show you what it looks like. All right, so your mushrooms are going to be nice and soft. They'll turn a kind of brown color in the top that's real pretty, I think. But this thing is chock full of vegetables. We got tons of veggies and lots of broth in here. And I will tell you, you can reuse your broth to make a future roast, so you don't have to go through all the starter steps again. What you would do to reuse that broth after you're done is you're going to take that broth and put it in a Tupperware and put it in the freezer. Now, the next time you go to make this, the only things you'll need to add to it, you might want to add a little more Italian dressing, maybe about a cup's worth, just to revive that flavor. And you'll also put in enough beef bouillon, beef broth, to cover your vegetables like we did in this one, because some of the broth will be lost. Now, there's another thing that you can do in yours if you choose to. Instead of that 2 extra cups of water, if you so choose to, you can add wine. It can be red, white, port. All of those work really well in here. Just whatever your favorite is. I wouldn't go with one that was maybe blueberry or blackberry flavored, just because the fruit wines just don't seem to turn out as well. But let's go ahead and get this roast out of here and show you what it looks like. Now remember, whatever roast you started with, and I have a 2.5 pounder, is going to shrink up quite a bit. So be prepared that that huge roast you might have started with, ooh, it's just falling apart, folks, may not be what you're going to end up with, because it does shrink when it cooks. Also, if you have an Instapot, you can cut this recipe down to about 1/3 of the time, because it cooks 70% faster than a crock pot will, or even putting it in the oven. And yes, you can do this as an oven roast. You just won't put as much liquid into it. So let's get into that roast and show you what it looks like. Now you remember my roast was huge in that package, and you see how small it turned. But look how tender that roast is. It is literally falling to pieces. I could take that roast and easily take any leftovers and turn them into barbecue beef or whatever. Look how tender that roast is. It's just flaking off of there. See, look how pretty. And yes, it will still have a reddish tinge to the inside because you're slow cooking it. You're not boiling it or baking it where it will cook all the way through. Now, what I like to do when I serve this roast is I like to serve it with some garlic bread. And I put a big heaping spoon, and I'm just going to do this one for show. We're not going to actually plate up a plate for dinner yet. But I like to get a big spoonful of all those veggies, and they look so pretty, and you want to make sure your potatoes are nice and soft. And I always try to put a little bit of liquid in the plate to help keep that roast nice and juicy. But you see, your onions will turn kind of translucent. That's what you're looking for. See how they're almost clear? Instead of being big yellow or white pieces of onion, you can see your fork through them. You want to make sure your vegetables are nice and soft. See how that carrot just diced right through it? Got my potato. You leave those peels on, remember, to keep that integrity to your potato. But you can see they're nice and soft. You know, you're not going to break a tooth on that or get a bellyache from it. Trust me, if you have undercooked potatoes, you will get a bellyache. And look at those mushrooms. Ooh, look so good. And I wish I had smell-o-vision, because you should smell what it smells like right now. All right, folks. So to this, I'm going to make some of that Parmesan garlic bread that you saw in shrimp and pasta, and we made for another meal. Shoot, I can't remember which one it was right now, but that's okay. If you've enjoyed this video, give us a like. That helps others to see the videos. Subscribe if you so choose, or if you think this recipe might be something along the lines you'd like to learn how to cook. We cook a lot of different recipes on this channel. And we hope that you've enjoyed this. You know, go back, check out some of our other recipes. I haven't used my Instapot yet, but soon we'll be putting Instapot recipes on here too. And hopefully coming up with some good things as we gear more toward Christmas. We have a few things slated in the works. We're going to do baked macaroni and cheese, which was always a favorite for my kids at Christmas time. And we're going to make a buttermilk pie from scratch, including the pie dough. So that's going to be fun. And we have a few more goodies in the works. So hang tight with us. We hope that you'll come back. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much. And thank you for all the support that you give. You know, please feel free to comment. I'll try to answer every comment that we receive. And I hope, everyone, that, you know, I can continue showing you good things to feed your family and interesting new ideas for you. But as I've said, this is Bougie Comfort Food. I'm Mary Landry. Have a great rest of your day and a wonderful rest of your week. Thanks. Y'all come back now. Bye. Save a place.